if you tell stories about the real world, then you have a responsibility to understand how it works.
Abbiamo passato tutta la vita in questo paese e dovremmo dividerlo con quelli là, ma chi li conosce?
Grazie per la sua gentilezza al nostro arrivo. L'ho apprezzata molto.
I love this movie because I think that inside there's the only solution to really understand the conflict between different people, because your main character really wants to know the other one. Mm-hmm. Since he knows them, he understands that they are not a blob, mm-hmm. but they are human beings. Mm-hmm. So how important is, in your opinion, really to know the other one?
Well, it's very important, particularly in the case of migrants who come to the country because they're desperate and they need help. And it's getting to know who they are is made more difficult by the propaganda of the far right, because the far right want to use migrants to divide ordinary working class people. Because if the working class is divided, then they're no threat to those who exploit them. So the attack on migrants has a political function for right-wing politicians, because it keeps them in power. It keeps their class in power, the class that exploits. And it is the task of the left, it is the task of those who want real human response, to say no, the people who are coming to our shores are desperate. They have not caused the collapse in public services. They haven't caused homelessness. They haven't caused the precarious working. That's endemic in the system. So yes, you have to get to know them. And also the causes, why are they having to leave? Because often the West has played a part in that. Like our country waged an illegal war in Iraq with the United States. It caused massive migration. Mm-hmm. The fault of Great Britain and the US, illegal war. We have to accept our responsibility.
Speaking about that, it's really touching the girl's speech in the church when she mm-hmm. says, when the world stands by and does nothing, mm-hmm. that's when the regime laughs. Yes, I think that the same thing is happening right now with Israel and Palestine. So yes. Really, you were saying it, what are our responsibilities in your opinion?
I think everyone has a responsibility to assert that everyone, every group, every individual, every people have the right to the protection of international law and human rights, and that includes the Palestinians. And the Secretary General of the UN made a very wise speech, I think, where he said that the attack of October the 7th, though he condemned it, and I would agree, I would condemn the attack on October the 7th, did not come in a vacuum. There is a context, and the context is the continuing oppression of the Palestinians. And I think it is through the United Nations that can be resolved, not America. We know which side they're on. The United Nations should intervene and assert the human rights of the Palestinians. It should assert their borders, and their borders must be arranged so that they can live in peace and dignity with the same rights as everyone else, to elect a government, to live in peace and security. And that's an international responsibility, and we should demand of our governments, intervene now. There must be an immediate ceasefire, and then the United Nations must resolve the situation.
When somebody wants to undermine your work, says that you are continuing to tell poor people stories, but you are not poor, it's a classic. So what would you answer to those people?
Well, if you think you get very rich making small independent European films, they don't know much about the film industry. But that's a silly, and
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me that. The key thing is which side you on. I mean, if they choose to be on the side of the wealthy and the exploiters and the privileged, that's up to them. Just look at history. Look at what is happening in the world. Look at your own society as the way we try to look at ours, and look at the reality. And that's your job. If you tell stories about the real world, then you have a responsibility to understand how it works. Mm-hmm. And you have a responsibility to know the history. And if you understand how it works, then that has to inform the stories you choose. So it's a process, really.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, and thank you for your work, really.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks a lot.